So hi everyone, I'm really happy to have with me Dr. Kushwant, and he secured an amazing rank 9 in INI-CET May 2025. So heartiest congratulations, Kushwant. This is really amazing.
Thank you, ma'am. Really, thank you. Thank you.
So a great performance in a very, very prestigious exam, right? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I really can't. I really don't have any words right now. But yeah, it's been. I was really elated to hear it, to see that news. So yeah, I'm very happy, ma'am. Me and my family. Thank you.
Great. Yes, that is how it has to be, right? And I'm sure a lot of hard work has gone into it. And Kushwant has been a T&D student with us. So, Kushwant, I want to start asking you some inputs that you want to give about how this INI-CET paper was especially different from the previous ones, right? We do see some changing trends. So, how would you say that this one was different, and how would you keep the difficulty level of this paper as compared to the previous papers?
Difficulty level was yes, definitely difficult than the previous month they were very hard questions were very few in the last set, but in this time the questions are not hard as per say, I would say, but they are more kind of confusing in the sense that that as you most of the most of the people, most of the my colleagues who have given exam with me must have seen that there are multiple questions which show the multiple correct answers, A B D D
Yes.
A B D. There were also many saying that it's a kind of traumatic.
Yes.
Yeah, but it was like really confusing because they definitely in I think even around 15 questions I found there were like two correct answers which were there is really an equal chance that any of them might be correct. I felt
Mm.
it.
Mm.
They were
Yeah.
really very small, like fine difference, that fine concept that you have to know to eliminate that. I felt that. So
Yes.
it was not difficult, but it was more structured around the topics which we know in a depth, in depth. That's what I
Yes.
felt in the
So
set.
exactly that is what I was coming to. So can we say, although the paper was more of a factual kind, like statement based, but can we say even with that kind of a pattern, it was quite in depth? I mean, the topics were covered in depth. That is exactly why we get confused between two options, right?
Yes, the thing I felt was it was not very much deviant from the topics wise as such.
Yes. Yes.
They covered the as I say the 80% of the questions come from the 20% of the
The
topics.
topic.
It
Yes.
came so it came like that, but they were like even if we know the topic, it was the finer details that we usually forget. So it was from
Yes.
that.
Right.
So yeah, that's what. So fortunately, I at the last, like some of my seniors have suggested me that it's actually the fine tuning which is required at the last, rather than how it's not how much you studied, it's actually how well you studied the
Yeah.
needed time. So that's what I think helped.
Okay, so I want to ask another thing here. Like, for example, if it's a multiple completion type question and there were lots of them like in that pattern, is it better to include more and more choices? I mean, like for example, if I'm sure A is right, B is right, and I'm doubtful about C, it is safer to go and mark as A, B, C correct because even if there is
Most
a
of the
slight
questions.
possibility, it should be included. That is the concept of multiple completion.
Usually, I will eliminate the options which are definitely wrong first.
Yes.
First thing to that. So the question which usually ABC and ABC, I will see the kind of statement that they are making. If I know something of that, then I will mark it. If I definitely know that
Yes.
C is correct, then definitely I will mark it. If it is like a statement which is like a generalized statement, it's not.
Hmm.
What I from my experience of solving MCQs, the things which are like only are it's like an absolute statement
Always.
which is that always
Yeah.
that questions mostly they tend to be wrong.
Yes.
That's what I think.
So you
The questions which are like mostly or maybe such things usually they
they
tend
are
to be
correct
correct.
and they should be included exactly. Right. So I think apart from knowing the content and knowing the concepts, the MCQ skill also takes a major role if it is this kind of a paper.
Yeah, it really tested, I think, this time the MCQ skills of solving, eliminating the options this time
Yes,
very big well. Because
yes.
some questions, few questions I found like, and I initially did not look at the options. I only chose the ABCD statements and I thought
Hmm.
this might be the answer. I really did not find that answer in the question. Then I revisited and I again started fine tuning. Maybe this was not
I,
this
I,
way.
I understand. Yes. So absolutely. When I was going through the recalls and when the students were giving me the options, this was the problem. Some of them said, "Ma'am, this should have been there, but this option was not there. It
It's
was
not there. Yeah.
ABD, but not ABC."
Even in
Right.
OBC, like they were like very two similar answers also. Like yeah, I think you
Yes.
know that MGSO question you must have known.
Yes. But now let me tell you that if you ask me about that particular question, it is core basics and it is from what you should know from basics. So, I know maybe you were not sure about the abruption, whether it decreases or not, but renal blood flow was definitely wrong. And the only good thing about that question was that it was not multiple corrects. It was a
Ah,
single
yeah.
question. So that one still made it easy. Okay, so that was about your MCQ skill. And now, since we're talking about MCQ skill, I wanted to ask you, do you think that when we are giving you questions, whether it's in a TND or it's a predictor series or any other format, do you think that question level at DAMS is good and it is in comparison to what is required for the competitive exam?
I have given few of the predictor series and predictor topics that were suggested by the mentors. They were good. They were really good. Like at the, I mean, I at that point of time, I saw it just 10 days before the exam, I think so, around 10 days. So at that
Right.
time, it kind of became a checklist for me that did I cover these topics and not.
Yes,
And they were all over
absolutely.
important topics. Like even the microbiology exercise, I was, see all the vectors, see all the stains, see all the, they were like core important topics which
Yes.
definitely could be asked.
Great.
So,
And also, when we made the final mock, uh, we deliberately kept a lot of
not
PYQs. And
PYQs.
the initial feedback was, why did you give so many PYQs? And we said,
Because of that paper felt like it was kind of giveaway felt, but
yes,
yeah, but I felt like a bit confident because I scored very high in that exam, like highest of my all GTs, so I felt a bit
that
confident,
was the
but at
purpose.
the same time I was grounded that this was more PYQ, so actual question paper could be hard.
But do you realize that even in the real exam, there were lots of
There
PYTs
were
and
lots of
PYQs?
repeats. There were lots of repeats.
Yes,
Some were exact copies and some were slight modifications. But
yes,
PYQs
that
are
is
definitely important, especially for INICET. I think PYQs are most important because every time they ask from the same topic in a different way or slightly
absolutely.
different way.
Right, and that is exactly why even closer to the exam, we keep something like PYQ Kabab. So we did it for INICET, and where we did talk about PYQs and PYTs and also the probable things that could come around that topic. Because, close to the exam, it's very
True.
important to stay focused on things that have highest probability, right? Okay, now I also want to ask you, Kushwant, what was the number of attempts that you did and questions, and what is the correct number of questions?
Uh, Actually, I did not have a time to see the number of correct answer, but
Okay.
I attempted all the questions, 200
Okay.
questions. There was
Okay.
because
Great.
there was no single. I only did not know one question, which was from
Mhm.
the PSM. I was very
Okay.
doubtful about that. Except that
Okay.
I had it's like most of the topics were something I have known, and I was able to eliminate two options at least. So
Yes.
I have put all the options. So I did not have any chance to leave any question because if I was to eliminate 50% of the options, I would definitely go for it because it's a 1:1 chance. So I don't leave such question. If it is a 4 out of 4, I don't know nothing about, then I leave usually.
That is how it has to be. You have to go aggressive. And what I can gauge by talking with you is that you are a person who works by elimination, and that's a very important skill for the exam, right? Even if you know that A looks to be correct, I would always tell my
Yes,
students to still go through B, C, D options and eliminate them, and only then go with A, because every MCQ
actually,
form.
even in the examination hall, I think 3 4 questions actually saved me because of the 4 options I was looking. Because one question I
Yeah.
did not read that it was not. So I was finding every answer was correct. I did not, I was
See?
first answer.
Exactly.
I was happy, but I got answer. But I was thinking next answer also go. Then I read the question again. Then I understood. So yeah, rather than more than question reading, options reading is much more important, I feel.
So I think you are a person who has a very good MCQ skill, Kushwant. I think this is, and it is important. Okay, besides knowing your content and knowing the concepts, it's very important to have the MCQ skill, to have the knack of it, and to know the nuances. To get on to that number of correct that you need. Okay, now something about INICET specifically. If I were to ask you, what would be the subjects which you would suggest should definitely be strength of anyone who wants to give any set?
I would say first physiology, definitely,
Okay.
because a lot of questions get asked integrated with with medicine and independently from physio. So
Okay.
physiology is definitely anatomy, gross, especially gross and markings,
Mm-hmm.
skeleton, muscle, they show everything. Definitely, people who have solved PYQs from anatomy, they will see, and they really fumble at that questions because even in this exam, there were many, like I think four questions which I remember superficially because I did not attend recall. But yeah, from even they were really thought provoking. Like I stood for a minute and I thought, oh, what could this be? Because yeah,
Yeah.
uh, anatomy and physio, uh,
Okay.
bio, anatomy, physio, microbiology because it's volatile.
Mhm.
And,
Okay.
but easy get stuff get asked, so it's not much. And pharma definitely because every time they ask, you should be really on updates with especially INICET. They ask a lot of updates,
Yes, I
especially
agree.
and definitely OBG because it has so much weightage in INICET
Yes.
and as well as NEET. Uh,
Yes.
and medicine
And out of
usually
okay,
medicine
okay, go
usually
ahead. Then I'll.
has strong points, so I did not focus much on medicine because I was losing most of the questions in actually physio and pharma, not in core
Uh-huh.
medicine. So
Okay.
I
I
did
was
not.
actually going to ask you this particular thing out of medicine and surgery because both are quite vast. See, OBG is not that vast. It's a big subject, but it's not as vast as medicine and surgery. So OBG people can still tackle, but when it comes to medicine and surgery, you always feel that you are able to do something and something is still missing out. So what would you ask the other students to prioritize on if both these are like scaring them?
Medicine, I think if you are conceptually good, then I think you will be able to solve questions. If you are
Okay.
physio and pharma are strong enough. But
Okay.
surgery, it's not the case with surgery because you have to be very strong in surgery and
It's
you
not
have
linked
to.
to any other than anatomy, maybe.
Yeah, it's linked to anatomy, that's definite, but apart from that surgery is like it's volatile. First of all, there is a lot of stuff to remember, there is a
Yes.
lot of grading and a lot of protocols to remember that.
And
Apart
sadly,
from that,
INICET does ask criteria,
especially
classification.
when to do an MRCP, when to do an ERCP. So it's very big, and that's not a skill that you can just read or seeing lectures because it's something which will you will get
Practicing.
only from solving questions.
Yeah.
I that time I felt because surgery, I studied surgery like I completed almost the course material which was I completed it even in my first, I think even in November I completed it before my
Hmm.
first attempt, I completed surgery. But the questions which I got most of the questions wrong in the further mocks I was giving. Then I understood that my MCQ solving skill in surgery was really bad because
Okay.
all were the topics I know, and still either I forgot it or either it was a confusing question from the protocols. So
Hmm.
yes, MCQs are really you should do a lot of PYQs in surgery. That's how what I would say. Thank you.
Great. And what would you want to say are outliers in this paper? For example, subjects which you thought that, oh, they are not very commonly asked, but you did see quite a bulk of them in the paper.
I saw FMT questions, like I felt that there were more actually this time
Okay.
because every set I think I thought two three around questions from FMT because it's a minor subject. Usually I thought that there would not be this many questions, but they were okay, good questions. They were not like two outliners, like they did not ask many sections and all that stuff.
Yes,
They asked
yes.
only one section, but which was update, so we definitely must know the grievous injury
Mm.
update. Yeah,
Yes.
and
Okay.
apart from that, I think. Yeah.
And between ENT and ophthalmology, they always have a very skewed distribution. So how do you tackle these two subjects?
Opta was always my weak point. How many times I used to remember, because there is a lot of stuff to remember in Opta. It's a very volatile subject, and which I recently understood. It's also very conceptually subject, which especially tropic squint and all, they require a lot of concept also and optics.
Neuro-opthal, in fact, INICET does ask a lot as well.
The INICET task actually asks both kind of questions. They especially Opta, INICET is all known for Opta, very notorious questions.
Yes.
So, but ENT questions, they are usually ENT. I feel that weightage is bit low. Usually INICET for ENT compared to Opta. But the questions are usually thoda sa slightly extended, but I think within the scope. But
Okay.
Opta, I think you can go to a bit beyond what we usually do, like thoda sa beyond the rapid revision notes and all.
Okay, great. And now I want to ask you, what about the revision closer to exam, like a week before or 10 days before? What were you sticking to? And how did you ensure that you were able to go through the factual things as well?
I had one proper revision. I completed my first reading by February, actually. So first proper reading, like after my November attempt, first proper reading, I completed by February. So by March and all, I was passively revising, and I was not that serious about the revision. I have to complete this. But yeah, I thought that 1 month I have to keep for one revision before exam, just before
Okay.
exam. So it went almost till I think May. May 3rd. May 3rd,
Okay.
I was completing my first, the last revision, which was the holistic revision. So the topics which I will never see again. So, but the last 10 days were the core topics from that revision, which needs to be definitely seen before exam. All the volatile stuff, all the important stuff. Because I'm just an overview of conceptual stuff.
Yes, I think fairly summarized. Okay, if I ask you what would be the most important advice from your side for anyone who's appearing for November INICET, what would that be?
I will say don't get FOMO. Because I experienced it a lot, because we study from one platform. We usually tend to see we are missing this, we are because we see a few questions from other platform getting asked, because we'll be in all common groups, study groups and all. Somebody will ask something, that question we may not know that question, and we started to feel very FOMO about it, that oh, my source may not cover all the questions. But I think each lecture is resource, trusting the source is very important. That's what I feel. Rather than reading 10 books, I think one book must be read 10 times. That's what I feel is important. I used to think that once reading, I think I know all the things in this book, but after revision, I understood that there are many things still I'm missing. Even in the short thing, that short revision notes that I prepared, even in that, from that, I'm actually missing a lot of things. That's what I
Great.
learned. So
Great.
trusting source is important.
Yes, absolutely. And ensuring that you're doing the volatile things again and again and
But
multiple
doesn't mean
numbers
that
of times.
don't go for any source. I mean, thoda research kar lo and see what's best for what, and then after that fix to a source. Then you don't jump in between your preparation. That's what I want to add.
Yes,
Thank you.
and always multiple readings always help. They help you retain longer, and they help you, reflexly mark a lot of answers which you otherwise can get confused in. Right? So great. And now I want to definitely know, what branch are you going to pursue?
I have been interested in general medicine since my internship. And
Okay.
I will be pursuing. I will be pursuing it in names.
Great. So that is great, and wishing you a very bright future ahead, Kushwant. And it was an absolute pleasure. Wish you good luck, and all the very best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye. Thanks.